Jody,
Yeah,
how are you?
yeah.
That's I'm so
Yeah, I made sure that this shirt was clean for today.
that's it, wearing
I
it.
actually had my cutoff one on at the gym this morning. So,
Really? See?
yeah,
Supporting the swag. Everybody should be
yeah,
supporting the Convene swag. I have
yeah.
Anthony, we forgot to give away your books. So if you're
Oh
listening,
my goodness.
go back on and we'll figure out a way. You can talk to Shayna and we'll figure out how to give away your book and all that. So that'll be good. So how are you doing today?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Doing well. I'm doing well.
Good, good.
You're in the chair. I should probably be standing like you. So
Well, yeah, and I have to though. It's just I'd be in pain if I tried to sit all day now. So
right.
yeah, it's not even always about just the exercise portion of it now. It's just I know my back will start hurting if I sit down for too long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, let's introduce you to everybody. So talk just a little bit about yourself and your story.
All right. Well, hi everyone. My name is Jodi Watkins. I am originally from a small town called Fernandina Beach. It's right north of Jacksonville, Florida. It's more of a tourist town now, but it used to be a small town,
Yeah.
and everybody knew everybody. But I kind of grew up. It was my mom and I till I was about 6. She remarried, and come to find out, he was schizophrenic. He was on drugs, and he loved to beat on women.
Yeah.
So that's what I grew up with. When I was 7, my mom lost my sister. Um, I got molested when I was 9. I I just didn't know what life was, what was out there.
Mhm.
So fast forward, I was in high school. I did really good up until my junior year, but I was moving. I moved a lot and just staying with friends, trying to finish school. I did have one amazing mentor who I mentioned in my book. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to do half of what I did. She was the track coach and the basketball coach, and she kind of took me under her wing. She made sure I was able to go to the games and just that woman. I tell her, I actually got to talk to her a couple weeks ago, and I was so grateful to be able to talk to her after, golly, 20 years. And I just had to tell her, though, I was like, if something happens to this lady and I don't get to tell her how I feel, I'm always going to regret it. So I just made sure I did whatever I had to do to get her phone number. and and I finally did. But yeah, so that was kind of a snippet of my upbringing. And then I ended up going to Gainesville, Florida. I went to school. I found out what credit card debt was the hard way,
Yeah.
and ended up and just bad relationships. Just didn't really know what love was. I'd been hurt so much. I think that I just had a cold heart and didn't really know how to love. So those things didn't work out very well. I ended up in the military just because I really didn't know what else I could do. Right before that, I actually ended up having an abortion. So I never disclosed that. I blame myself for it. It was a whole lot that went into that. Um, and for 20 years, I sabotaged myself.
Yeah.
And I'm 42 now, and I'm ready to live. I have a daughter. She'll be 11 in December, and that's my life.
Yeah.
And whatever I have to do to allow her to never be limited in her life, I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm
And
going to try not to get emotional.
we're an emotional platform, Jody,
Yeah. Well, and I do want to disclose something because, you guys have been talking about experiences and things like this. Everything that I just said in that, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, I never talked about until just this last year.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
kept it all in and I hid it. And I was so ashamed. And I was so just, um, what are people going to think of me if I talk about this stuff?
Yeah.
And now I went through this amazing journey last year. You and I have talked about this, and it has allowed me to live.
Yeah.
I am healing now. It's not about coping anymore. Coping is when you slap a Band-Aid on something and keep going, which I did. I did that very well my whole entire life until I didn't. And so now it's about healing. And when we share those stories and those experiences, that's when we get to heal.
It
And
is.
that's when we get to move forward. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of a family. Oh my goodness, I was praying for this.
Yeah.
And it's magical right now. You have no idea how I feel. So,
Yeah.
or
There's
maybe you do, but
well, there's something about, telling your story, and there's something about like letting people know where you're at and just getting it off your chest and not keeping it suppressed. Cause when you're living with it inside, it drags you down, right?
Oh man.
Just drags you down
Oh yeah.
spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. It gets you in all of those four different regions. And that's
Yeah.
really, those things are what you focus on. You focus
Yeah.
on all of those different areas and help people with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well,
along the
because I just it it is not a happy place to be. I tell people all the time, like I in my life I've been really, really good at covering things up and keeping going.
yeah,
And I just that's how I've always operated.
yeah,
And I tell people, I'm like, and this is kind of why the company itself is kind of gearing more towards overall wellness. Like, and I had a conversation at the gym this morning, as a matter of fact, about this. You can exercise and you can eat right. But if you're not okay in your mind, that's a problem. I tell people, I'm like, when I was in the best shape of my life was falling apart
yeah,
at the seams
yeah,
because I was not willing to address the underneath things. And I wasn't even aware, honestly, of some of the things that were still there in
yeah,
my subconscious. And our subconscious minds hold on to those things and we don't even know it
yeah.
until Lindy said something earlier. I heard her talking about that awareness factor.
Mhm.
That is huge. And it's the hardest thing to do. I tell people, if you're ready to go on this journey, don't expect it to be easy. It's
It's not,
not going to be easy.
yeah.
It's a journey, and it's a journey for a reason. But at
But
the end of it,
uh, where
oof,
you're at, it's not easy, right? Where you were at
it's
before you really started this journey, you were not in a good place, right?
oh, I hit a
Oh,
everything. It's like, but it goes back to what you just said, what you focus on, right? I chose to focus on all the negative things instead of focusing what I had. And it wasn't until our daughter and we drove around downtown Jacksonville, and she never really had seen like a homeless shelter in her life, because fortunately we were in Valdosta, Georgia, which is kind of small, and then we were in Okinawa, Japan, so there wasn't really a whole lot of that. And we were driving around downtown. It was December, so it was kind of cold, even though it's Florida. And she saw a line of people outside of a building, and she said, "Mommy, what are they doing?" And I was just like, "Well, baby, they don't have a place to go tonight, and they're trying to get into the shelter." And I tell you, Matt, I went home that night and I have nothing to complain about. I turned on the heat.
yeah,
I was driving my car that was paid for. And that, even though I was still really lost at that point, that was just December. And I really didn't start this journey until about March, maybe April. Um, but but that triggered something inside of me.
yeah,
And I was just like, okay, where is this going? But I will say, and I've said this to people, and I never can say that I would ever have the gall to do anything to myself, because I would have done that a long time ago probably. But God's got me here for a reason.
hmm,
I could have died so many times in my life, but I'm still here.
yeah,
And now I have this child, and there's other children around me now. And this is the next generation, and everything I have in me, it's time to build them up. There's so many, I encounter adults every single day that they give me nothing but excuses.
yeah,
And I did the same thing.
yeah,
But you know what? These kids, if we're not doing it for ourselves, we got to do it for them.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. And, I'm so glad that you told your story. I'm so glad that you got vulnerable because, and you and I have talked about this before, this is what this is all about. This is what we are doing here within Convene. And this is why I love you being a part of what we're doing and a part of this family. And you and I connected right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Connected. I mean, our first conversation that we had, and we really got vulnerable. We really talked about it, and that's what it's all about, Jody. That's
Yeah.
what you're building and inside of Convene is, and you see how your story and look, like right here, all can think of somebody who has had real life, who is a real person, who has had real experience. We love you, and so that's coming from Eugene to you. And
Oh, thanks, Eugene.
yeah, I mean, and Shayna says, "We love you, Jody. Your story is powerful. Women need to hear it." That's coming from Lindy. And so that's
Thanks,
what it
Lindy.
is. I mean, your story is powerful, but your story, and we'll talk about your book here in just a minute, but your story is making a difference in people's lives, and can and will make a difference in people's lives more so with this reach that you have. And so that's really, really cool. So
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And I just was presented recently with an opportunity to mentor a 17-year-old and who's had a lot of trauma in her life. You guys, like, I'm not a licensed therapist. And I used to think, I used to always be chasing that next thing because, oh my gosh, I got to have this identity. I have to have this DR in front of my name or whatever that is because, oh my gosh, I'm not ever going to have the chance to help anybody or inspire anybody or anything unless I have those letters. No, that's BS. It's no,
yeah,
you share your life. And that is what helps people. Even the lady who I talked to about this opportunity, she said, Jodi, I've interviewed a lot of people. She said, but you are going to relate to this girl better than any of those people that have those degrees. And I was just like, oh, thanks. And that's the thing too, for me, especially, I didn't believe in myself.
yeah,
I never did. I never knew the capabilities. I never had someone say, Jodi, you changed my life, until I did have someone say that.
yeah.
And that was like, well, how did I do that? Yeah, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was doing it in the military. I have people, I'm mentoring people in the military. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just doing it. I was just me. That's just what I did. I didn't know that was different.
Exactly.
Now I see everything, and we've talked, like, I went through that spiritual journey, but I tell people it doesn't matter where your faith is. And
Yeah,
if you don't believe in a higher power, there's something going on with you, because there is something. Look, I'm reading a book about quantum physics. There is something out there. I don't care what you believe in.
yeah,
Call it God, call it whatever you want. I call it God.
yeah,
And because I'm grateful. I was very prideful. Like I said, I was ashamed. I didn't want people to know anything. And it wasn't until I started reading some of the scriptures that are in the Bible that allowed me to release some of those things and be like, oh my gosh, this is okay.
yeah. It is.
I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Cool. Like, let's go. Like,
Yeah,
and I think people get so wrapped around the, oh, I got to believe in God thing. No, it's not even that. It's just reading. Like, if you actually took a moment to read some of those things that are in there,
yeah,
oh my God, it changes your life.
yeah. Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
Or oh my, like I read one this morning, forgive your enemy. Please believe I was not doing that. But if I can't forgive my enemy, how in the world can I forgive myself?
Yeah, I'm writing an experience right now and doing something it's about why not me.
Mm,
That's the name of it. Why not me? And that can go a lot of different directions, but it makes me think of what you just said. When I went back to school to become a Christian counselor, I'm like, who am I? That was my question.
right.
Who am I? Who am I to think that I can go back and become a Christian counselor? Like, who am I?
Hmm.
I don't know the Bible frontwards and backwards. And there was people in my class, when I was going through my degree, and they knew the Bible much better than me. And I'm thinking, who am I? You get that the imposter syndrome. Like,
Yes.
how in the world do
Yes.
I think that I can be, uh, you know? But that's not what it's all about. Really, it's about, how do I treat people? How do I lift
Right.
people up? How do I pour into people? How do I
Right.
share my story? And I've been in some situations where I know that God put me there to
Hmm.
say, hey, Jodi, let me tell you my story because I've walked in your shoes. Let
Right.
me tell you how I overcame it because I've been where you are. And
Right.
it's lifting them up. I don't have to, in that situation, say, well, if you would go to Proverbs and you would read this scripture,
Right.
you know,
Right.
that's not what it's about. That's
Right.
it's God putting you in place to connect with them
Yeah.
and really pour into them with love and kindness and let them know that they're not walking alone. Again,
Yeah.
that's the mission.
Yeah.
The mission is to say, hey, I've been where you are. I've walked where you are. Here's my story, and here's how it relates to your story.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's what
Well,
we're.
and like, I do plan, you and I have talked about this, and I do plan on going and getting a degree in of all things, family and marriage counseling. Oh my goodness.
I
Like,
love
who am I to do that? Right. But you know what? That's needed. And especially, you and Anthony talked about Jada earlier. I'm the vice president now for her nonprofit.
Yeah.
That is going to be so needed. I'm life coaching a 7-year-old in my home right now. Like, that is so necessary.
Yes.
And we forget about what these children go through.
Yeah, we
It's
do.
not always about the adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go back and do that, but it's not to chase anything anymore. It's because I know that that's my purpose.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
That is a purpose.
That's huge.
So let's talk about, because we're going to run out of time.
I know. I know.
Let's
I
talk about
know.
your community and what's going on inside of your community.
Okay. Well, the wellness community. Thank you so much for allowing me to even have that community. I'm grateful for that. So I did because I did found the company To Be Epic Fitness and Nutrition LLC. I founded that in 2017. Deer in the headlights. I had no business being an entrepreneur, but hey, it is what it is. I went with it just like I do with everything else, and I learn as I go.
Yeah.
Okay. So that happened.
One thing about that. I want to say one thing about that again, about this family, because I think that's very important. All of us, I can go down the list. All of us are in this situation where we jump in and we become entrepreneurs.
Yes.
We don't know how to be entrepreneurs. So I'm going to plug it right now because you just brought it up. But that's one big reason why we have Jason Berry, our small business coach.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We will be offering small business coaching to every single one of our community leaders and group leaders, because everybody's learning as we go. Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, but you're good. But and then I had the vision last year, and I say this was definitely a vision from God, because I wouldn't have ever orchestrated it by myself. But the breaking barriers, and I kept, my daughter drew it. So I say I live through my daughter, right? So everything when she draws, so she actually drew. I have it right here, as a matter of fact. Let's see.
Yeah.
But the butterfly, right? So she drew that, and it says breaking barriers. It starts with the mind. And I was just like, yeah, that's it. And I said, and I looked it up, and of course that was taken. But then here it is, golly, a year later, and I looked it up again, and it was open. And I said, okay, well, I don't have the finances to do anything with it right now, but I'm getting the name. So I got the name through the state, and it's going to flourish. But, and it comes with these nonprofits. I want to start a youth program. There's so many things that right now I'm not able to do because of the lack of finances. But I tell you, when I get it, it's all of it is happening. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, Braden, you and Braden have been working together. Braden, my son, he's your
Yes.
y'all have been working together a lot to build up your community. And so
Yes.
what are some things that are in there? Because this is really cool. And again, going back to your book, you're an author. Talk about that real quick, and how y'all just broke down your book and some of the cool things that are going on in there, because you're a model Convene citizen.
Oh. Well, and it's funny, I was sitting in church last year, and the pastor said, use your gifts. And I started thinking, I was like, well, what are my gifts? Well, I've always been a writer. And so I was like, well, okay, I love to write. Why don't I just start writing? So I did. Business had pretty much halted at that time. And so I had time to write. And I just started writing this book. And it's called Reclaim Your Life. And in that, it was basically, I had a business coach, a mentor. She had asked me, she said, well, Jodi, what do you do when you work with people? She was like, do you just personal train? I'm like, nah, no. I had a young Marine call me her life coach before. Like I was like, it's got to start with the mind. If your mind isn't in the right place, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're always gonna, fall off. And then time management. You know how many people tell me I don't have time? Well, let's work on that. Self-care. We try to help most of us, a lot of us, because we're healers. We want to heal everyone.
Yeah.
We want to help everyone else, but we forget to help ourselves.
Exactly.
If we can't help ourselves, we can't show up for anyone else.
Yeah.
So we can't even dive into nutrition or exercise before we get those 3 under control.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. The first 3 chapters are those. Then I go into the nutrition basics, the way that I help people, some of the calculations that I use, because I want people to know how to fuel their bodies. It's not a diet. It's just learning how to fuel your body. Implementing exercise, getting our endorphins going, people are depressed. They're seeing psychiatrists. They're on depression meds and all this. Freaking go for a walk for 30 minutes when your life is falling apart.
Yeah.
It's amazing what that can do for you.
Yeah.
And so getting people to understand that. And then of course the consistency. You're going to fall off. You got to get back on, fall off, get back on. As long as you don't quit, that's consistency. Keep going. Just stay the course.
Yeah.
So, and it's called Reclaim Your Life. So we did the course. So this is it right here. That's my daughter on the front. Like I said, she's my life.
Yeah.
And kids are, when you're talking about reclaiming your life, look at a child who hasn't been tarnished by the world yet.
Yeah.
That's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was the picture that got put on the course, and we actually finished it up last night. There's blogs in the community. I put that under the To Be Epic Fitness and Nutrition group. I made sure I put some of those. There's a bunch of blogs on my website, so I'm going to be transferring those. I love the fact that people can comment and discuss anonymously. You and Anthony were talking about that. That's huge. And I think that's why I don't get a lot of engagement. Not everybody's where I am right now, and that's okay. Start where you are. Just engage, heal, have the discussion, build the community. Know that you're not alone. That's the important part.
It is the important part, because some people just don't want to put themselves out there, and that's okay. That's totally fine.
Yep.
Put yourself out there as you see fit and when you can. And that's really what's important. And that allows for those blogs to be two-way communication instead of one-way communication.
Right. And I love that. Because I love interacting. I love feedback. I always ask people, how are you feeling about this? How's your program going? Like, is there anything? I have somebody on the advisory board for To Be Epic right now who is a client, because I'm always going to her. So I think that's huge, just getting that engagement and the interaction. And, people are like, I don't know how you're doing what you're doing right now. And I said, well, I just got out of my way. Yeah. And it takes a long time to do that. And like I said, it's just having somebody to walk with you. Everybody needs that. I need that. Why do you think I like having you guys so much?
Right.
I never had that before,
yeah.
And when you surround yourself with like-minded people who propel you forward and want you to grow, and you want the same for them, that's magical.
It is. And that's what we're doing here. And that's why it's such a family. That's why it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So you're doing great things. I hate that it's over.
I know.
But you're doing great things, and this community is going to grow. We want the people that are in the wellness come in. Let's find other group leaders. Let's find other people to pour in this community, because again, wellness is such an important topic. And if we can grow this community and bring people in, it's just going to help so many people. Really.
And I do have the gift box with a book.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Just got to know who to send it to.
All right. So we're gonna give that away. Here's what we'll do. We're gonna send Shayna a question. So message Shayna a question about something that you talked about during this.
All right.
And then we'll put that out there. And then whoever answers the question, that's who will get it.
Sweet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so Anthony, you do the same thing if you're still listening. Send Shayna a question, and we'll put that out there. And then that's how we'll give away the gift boxes. We do have some T-shirts that we're going to give away as well for those people. I have a whole box of T-shirts. So
nice.
It's we'll give away.
I have some of those too. They're not Convene, but
Well, they're okay, but so
they're okay. It's a good compliment, right? It's a good partnership.
So do that, and then we'll get that question on there, and then we'll give that away. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being a part of Convene. I'm looking forward to where the wellness community goes, and not just that, just where our friendship goes, and how we just all continue to grow. And
I just can't wait to meet everybody in person, because y'all know I like to hug. So this COVID stuff needs to hurry up and get over with. Look, we've been dealing with the flu for the longest. Come on, people. We're good. Let's hug and let's get back to it.
This event is coming, and I can't wait to get through it. Working with justice on that. So we're going to really kind of just promote that event up, and it's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina is when we're doing it. And it's going to be great. Trying to promote Wendy in. I'm not sure what's taking it. Why it says joining. So hopefully she'll.
The declutter coach. Yes.
Declutter coach.
That's a tongue twister if you try to say it too fast.
She's going to bring it. She always does.
Yeah, I like her. I love what she talked about with, going through with her son, because I went through that with my daughters, and that's when I learned a lot of what I learned about myself
Yeah.
with that. So I love that she shares that story too. So
Yes.
she's definitely an inspiration when it comes to that. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to share that a little bit more with a lot of the parents,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
they're trying to figure out how to help their children, and a lot of it's just nutrition. It doesn't have to do with meds. Everybody just goes to meds, right? It's just easier,
Yeah.
but not always about that.
Well, it is. And I think it's so important that we learn, I'm looking forward to talking to Jaman a little bit later too, but I think it's so important we learn how to communicate with our kids and learn how to
Yes.
talk and learn how to parent.
Yes.